presentation is named Friends of the Bishop. Have a presentation from the Director of Hoima in Hoima, and he will commission the Diocesan Finance Committee and hand that policy for implementation. After that, we have and lunch. Welcome. With us, we have Father from St. Welcome. Father Peter Ligaba from Bukonda Parish. Welcome. Miss Ampire Jack, Mr. Charles from Butema Parish. Welcome. Father Billy Anthony, Mugalike Parish. Bwana Mkuu, you are welcome. From Butema Parish, you are welcome. Father Boniface, Father Boniface Gonza from Bujumbura, Senior, you are most welcome. Make sure there is no empty.
The Son and of the Holy Spirit, the source of all wisdom, all resources, and all blessings. Lord, you have entrusted us with talents and treasures, calling us to be faithful stewards in service of your kingdom. As we launch the Hoima Diocesan Finance Policy, we ask for your guiding spirit to inspire transparency, accountability, integrity in all undertakings. Bless us. Implement this policy. May their decisions be marked by prudence, and compassion, that every resource may serve the mission of evangelization, education, and care for the poor. Grant us unity of purpose. We may build a church rooted in trust, growth, and mercy. May this policy be not only a framework of management, but also testimony, commitment, of St. Joseph.
We may our sins. I would like to us who have been serving to come and take your seats on the right hand of the bishop, who have been appointed as members of the council. Also take your places. Please move from wherever you are and occupy. I want the honor to invite our chairman to officially. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our and the entire community. The Right Reverend Amote here with us. Diocese. Before you and the task that is given from the chair that I'm holding, I want to welcome officially especially the people who are here. And the people gathered here as invited by your office comprise here. We have the financial administrator is here with us. We have also the secretary of the bishop. Your secretary, my Lord Bishop, is here with us. Joseph, so Monsignor Peter Kaberenge is here. We have Monsignor Bone Kialigonza from Hoima and Monsignor Kabianga so, and I welcome them, Lord Bishop, on your behalf. We have here the chairperson of the late Sir John Mary Kiseyombo, and the entire Diocesan Pastoral Council. Maybe for official purposes, I would invite you to, the members who are present, just to stand up and wave at us. We welcome you sincerely. We have here members of the Diocesan Finance Committee of the Diocese. Can I invite you, at least those who are here, to stand up? The time will come for you to be presented officially, but you are there. We have our parish priests. They were all invited. The parish priests who are here, please stand up and wave at us. Thank you for coming. We have invited also the chairpersons of the parish councils from all our parishes. Yeah. Welcome. You are most welcome. We have representatives of religious congregations working in this diocese. Stand up also for recognition. Thank you. And you have come sincerely good numbers. We appreciate that. We have members of the Diocesan Choir, strong heads of departments of the diocese. Please also stand up for recognition. We also have some selected directors and heads of education institutions operating in this diocese. Okay. Thank you for coming. We have the executive director of Ofocam and his team, Mr. Single, last but not least. The others, those perhaps who have escaped our eye, we shall introduce you as we go on. My Lord Bishop, you have invited this congregation in various capacities, and the purpose of which is fully embedded in you, in your heart. But as Team Jesus, that has been working very closely with you, spearheaded by the finance administrator, Father James Adyon, we all know now that this is a kind of climax at least the part of finance, is a climax of a consultative that has taken place for some time, for months, if not years. And this is the issue of the finance is one of the three issues or dockets that we shall be looking at today, where the second is going to be the issue of the Diocesan Pastoral Council Commission, and the third will be the issue of OFOCAM investment. On the issue of the Diocesan policy, it is not news to you members all who are gathered here that today we are marking a very huge achievement for the Diocese of Hoima to have engenderwaho y'ebintu by'esente. I think let us clap hands for the Bishop and his entire team led by Father James. Because without this roadmap, this policy, we may be listening to run as scattered team, as a team Jesus, but that is now tempted with being scattered. But now we are coming together to say, no, we can work very closely. We already at this point want to appreciate someone who has accompanied us along this journey, and that is Mr. Kinto and his team. He must be somewhere. Yes, he's here. He has accompanied us along that journey very well. Looking at the commissioning of the Diocesan Pastoral Council, we want to appreciate very much the work of our Diocesan Pastoral Coordinator, Father Joseph Begirwa, has been working with all the teams. Paul Begirwa, who has been working very closely with all the teams to see that this Diocesan Pastoral Council is put in place, and it is here today. Very eager men and women in the church, very eager, very zealous. Let us clap hands for them. And when I was reflecting on their mission, I remembered the words or the encouragement of our late Pope Francis when he took us through the issue of synodality, working together, laity, religious, and clergy, all working together for the common goal, and that is the salvation of all. And it actually brings out again the spirit of the Vatican Council too. That was emphasized very much emphasized the role of the laity in the church. And today we experience another landmark. The issue of OFOCAM, the third one, I don't want to highlight so much about it, but it will be our third and last item. I don't want to preempt the words of my Lord Bishop, who is soon actually to address us in his keynote address and give us some special highlights on why we have come here. So at this juncture, my Lord Bishop, I invite you.
morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is with profound joy that I welcome all of you to this important event of officially launching the first finance policy manual of Hoima Catholic Diocese. I'm excited to see all of you turn up in large numbers, and as Bishop, I am greatly encouraged that I have what the Vicar General has said. I have Team Jesus. You are Team Jesus. Today, we also celebrate another significant milestone, the commissioning of the Diocesan Finance Council. Together, these two pillars of financial stewardship and pastoral leadership mark a new chapter in our mission of evangelization, service, and institutional strengthening. Over the years, the Diocese of Hoima has grown from 7 parishes. We started with 7 parishes to now 54 parishes, from 7 to 54. And don't forget we are celebrating 60 years since the birth of this parish. So there has been birth of the diocese. Thank you. So we see that we are experiencing lots of God's blessings, growth, and we know the diocese is expanding in population, ministries, schools, health centers, pastoral responsibilities. And with such growth it comes with the sacred duty to manage our spiritual and temporal resources with fidelity. I had the pastoral coordinator mention that in the prayer. Fidelity, transparency, accountability, and integrity. The Lord has blessed us with these resources, so we must handle them with fidelity, transparency, accountability, and integrity. So this finance policy manual has been crafted precisely to support this mission, It outlines clear procedures for budgeting, accounting, reporting, safeguarding assets, managing revenues and expenditure, managing human resource, taxation, etc., etc. It provides a consistent framework through which all diocesan entities can function effectively and in harmony with church law, being a diocese we follow church law, and national financial standards. So this manual, my brothers and sisters, serves as a practical guide. It's a practical guide for all who handle diocesan finances, including parish priests. I'm glad the parish priests are here in a large number. Parish priests, administrators, accounting officers, treasurers and financial officers, school and hospital administrators, project managers, religious financial managers, head of diocesan institutions and departments. So I really feel excited that we now have a tool that can help us, can guide us, and help us to assess our performance. The diocesan finance policy was diligently developed by the Diocesan Finance Committee in close collaboration with the Finance Office and the various committees across departments, commissions, parishes, schools, hospitals, and other diocesan institutions. I'd like to express my special appreciation to the following people, the following team, the Vicar General, who is also chairperson of the Diocesan Finance Committee, whose leadership and pastoral wisdom guided this process. 2, the Diocesan Financial Administrator, who is also secretary to the Diocesan Finance Committee, for his dedicated coordination and careful structuring of the policy. 3, members of the Diocesan Curia, subcommittees, commissions, parishes, and institutions for their valuable contribution. 4, accountants across diocesan departments and members of Hoima, whose professional input strengthened the document that we shall launch this morning. And finally, Mr. Robert M.J. Kintu, independent process consultant from FIT Insights Limited, whose technical expertise greatly enhanced the integration of canonical norms and secular financial requirements. The drafting of this financial policy document began in 2020, but because of COVID, the official kickoff for completion was in 2023, when we brought on board the consultant. So this final product is the fruit of consultation, review, and the collective wisdom from all of you, from priests, religious, professional people, lay people, and all the faithful. Dear members of the Finance Council that we shall commission today, you have been chosen from among the faithful. Chosen to serve the church in this noble ministry of consultation, discernment, and planning. The first step in planning is to discern how God is calling each one, how God is calling each community, each person, and apostolate to fulfill its particular mission today. The wisdom and suggestions of the faithful, offered sincerely in true unity and within ecclesiastical communion, are of great value in forming financial decisions. Your responsibility is to listen. Your responsibility is to listen, reflect, analyze, and advise, ensuring that our financial strategies in the diocese respond to the real needs of our people. May your work strengthen the work of evangelization, deepen participation, and promote strategic planning throughout the diocese. Today, as you have been informed, we shall also introduce the concept of the Friends of the Bishop initiative, Friends of the Bishop. And I know you are all my friends. Then I'm not sure about that. I know my friends. So we are officially going to introduce this initiative, to present this initiative. And there will be a slot even to the chairman related to the diocese to explain deeper. Although I know you are all my friends, but he's going to explain in detail what that entails. We might have to form a football team of Friends of the Bishop. It is a visionary effort aimed at empowering the diocese economically so that we can sustain our pastoral mission, reduce financial vulnerability, and foster long-term diocesan self-reliance. I think it is like someone being given seeds for, say, seedlings of mangoes, someone getting fruits, instead of eating the fruits, just eating the fruits as they come, planting the seed to ensure that the plant grows, and as it grows, it continues producing seed, producing fruits which we can enjoy over and over, instead of celebrating and getting the fruits, say a basket of mangoes, and eating them, finishing them, and then waiting until we get another person to give us more. So, as friends of Bishop, these gentlemen and ladies have a plan of ensuring that what we get is planted so that it can grow, bear fruit, and we begin harvesting the fruits over and over and over and over without that dependency syndrome. So this initiative invites all people of goodwill, parishioners, professionals, business persons, all people, friends of the bishop, to stand with the bishop in building a strong, economically empowered diocese. I think we have some targets. One is to strengthen diocesan income generating projects. That is one. To strengthen. Number two is support education, healthcare, and social services. As a church, we have that mission. We have that mandate of Jesus who said, I have come so that they may have life and have it in its fullness. Number three, also improve clergy welfare and pastoral sustainability. Number four, increase support for activities for evangelization and missionary outreach. All these need some financial support. 5, establish and grow long-term investments for the diocese. So this initiative, my brothers and sisters, complements the finance policy. It complements. You will discover that finance policy is a tool that is guiding us on how to manage, how to get revenue, how to manage it. So this initiative, Friends of the Bishop, complements the finance policy by ensuring that not only the prudent management of resources, but also the continuous strengthening and aggregation of revenue sources. I would also like to take this opportunity in a very special way to warmly welcome the Hoima team led by Mr. Isingoma. Hoima team, most welcome. And that team will brief us on the importance of investments as one of the ways of implementing our diocesan finance policy. Hoima, for your information, is our own creation. It is an institution that was started, founded by the bishops of Hoima, Fort Portal, and Kasese. Hoima, Fort Portal, and Kasese. Hoima. I wonder how many years Hoima is now.
24 years ago.
34.
24 years.
24 years. And Hoima has been doing very well. When I became bishop, the first year, Hoima got a very good message. And Hoima, the manager, were telling me, Hoima, you have dividends of 100 million. I started that way. So Hoima is something that is alive, and we thank you for your dedication, for your good work. So we have called them to be with us today, to encourage all of us to use what we have. Hoima. There are some dioceses which were asking us, they were asking the 3 bishops of Hoima, Fort Portal, Kasese, can we join Hoima? We said, now you see, we have to be 3. We have to be 3 groups. How can you come in when we are already Hoima? So that is an indicator that it is something valuable and which we would like to spread out in our dioceses, parishes, we invite parishes to have activities with Hofokam. It is a way of empowering our people to support their income and also to support the church. So they will have a slot to brief us briefly about Hofokam, and I urge all of you to take their message seriously. They work on our behalf to strengthen our financial stability, promote responsible investment, and expand economic opportunities for our dioceses and the entire region. And we have seen them, it is a church organization. We have seen them assist us here, ordinations, they are here for Hofokam. They give us their contribution. When we go to Namubongo, they are there. The other time we were in Mabira, at Katosa, Matters, they were there. You know, Koki, they are there. So Hofokam is our strong financial opportunity to grow, to help us grow. Once again, to all of you, I say welcome. And I am very, 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 very happy to see you all. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, my Lord Bishop. I think we need to clap again for the honor of the Lord. My Lord, your communication, your message, every statement and every sentence, there's no way we can summarize it or do anything about it to a team of leaders like this. I hope we have taken the message. Now that the Bishop has told us why we are here today, through the chairperson, allow me to invite the financial administrator of the diocese to tell us what is contained in this document that is going to be launched today. And after that, I will hand over the microphone to the chairperson again to invite a few comments about the policy. Financial administrator, you're welcome.
My Lord Bishop, and all of you, dear people of God, the Lord is good, and all the time. As we may all be aware, that any policy is like a steering wheel, that it gives the direction to which the one steering wants to go. So any policy is like a steering wheel. And for that matter, a sound financial policy is the backbone of an organization's sustainability and growth. For it ensures resources are allocated wisely and properly, and risks are managed and goals achieved. That's what a sound financial policy does or should do. And so, my Lord Bishop, the task of designing, formulating, and evolving the Diocesan finance policy, which you assigned the Diocesan Finance Department in conjunction with the Diocesan Finance Committee of Hoima, has been achieved through the efforts and contribution of different key stakeholders of this diocese, including but not limited to the following: departments of the Diocese of Hoima, accountants and financial experts, in the diocese, the diocesan courier, parishes and institutions of Hoima Catholic Diocese, and Oinera, among others. Those and others I have not mentioned have been very key in ensuring that the policy which we are going to launch today is realized. But we also employed the expert assistance of Mr. Chintu Robert, who is here with us, who finally helped to put together our ideas into the policy which will officially launch today by Lord. And for that matter, him being technical in this whole process, I take this pleasure to invite him that he may give us highlights about the policy. Mr. Chintu, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Father James, for the opportunity to say a few remarks about the policy. I'm glad to be here and having been given an opportunity to serve on this committee. It was not an easy exercise, by the way, because the consultations were with very many people and very highly technical people in their areas of expertise. And I thank you, those that actually were able to contain my request for continuous consultations. Ladies and gentlemen, today is an interesting day. I wanted to reflect on a few things that are within the policy. I know you are going to read the policy as it is, but you don't need to read the whole document when you start reading it. You should always go for what aspects are affecting what you are going to be doing. Let me talk about a few things as a process consultant. My job is to understand what you do. When I understand what you do, I guide you into where to get that information. And the first thing for any policy to work, if you do not have data about what you do, the policy will fail. So statistics about how many faithful we have are critical. How many schools we have are critical because they inform the way the policy is implemented and the targets that we are talking about. I just like what the Bishop talked about in terms of the planned investment. It's one of the components within the policy, but he highlighted 5 aspects in that aspect of the policy, which means that for us as Hoima Diocese to be able to achieve the aspects of educational growth, evangelization, we need to have numbers of how many children are born, how many of them have been baptized, how many are going to our schools, how much are they paying. So we start from that part of strategy and analysis of that information to inform the policy as a guiding document. Let me just present this. So in principle, we need to look at aspects that actually guide us in what we do. We have schools, we have health facilities and projects. Hoima is endowed with a number of resources, but we cannot implement a policy if we do not know how much we have. That means an asset record has to be maintained. The policy has that information. How do we record our assets? How do we manage our schools that are Catholic founded and those that are Catholic affiliated? How do we manage the hospitals? There may be social activities, but they can be managed sustainably. All these guidelines are being provided for within the policy. As I said, it's a living document. That means certain things may change as the economy changes and things are becoming different. But these are critical for us. The other aspect is critical is about how do we fundraise or mobilize funds. There's a chapter just talking about mobilization of funds, and gives even a few examples. In one of the slides, I'm going to talk about fund mobilization, just to bring out certain aspects for you today. But the important thing of mobilizing funds is that you will mobilize funds both from the faithful, but also from the resources you already have. And the resources could be divided into different aspects. We could look at like 5 of them critically. The most important one is, well, we have ourselves, the head. We are a resource already as knowledge. We do have the people we employ within the diocese and the parishes, that is the human resource. We do have the infrastructure we have that was handed over to us by those that came before us, the church buildings, the schools. How are we managing them? How are we sustaining them? I always talk about this and I say, when you are given an asset like a school, have you added another brick? Or you have just left it as the way it was given to you? If you don't rehabilitate it, who is going to do that job? If you don't sustain it, who will make that building stay? There are people that are given assets and they just sit, and you stay with the building. When there is transfer, you go and say, that's how I was given that property. But in actual aspect of the church, whenever you are in a particular position, you need to think about things, multiplying it 3 times your years. If you are 50 years today, that's 150 years. Can it live for that time? If you are 40 years, multiply it by 3. Whatever you are doing, because you are not doing it for you, you are doing it for the future generations to come. Those are the principles we normally talk about. Growth of accountability and clearance of accountability. The thing that kills mobilization of funds whenever we develop things like policies is that when people try to flout the procedure, and when people get to know what is in a policy, and you as a leader, you flout the procedure, you will not get funds. People won't mobilize money for you. Even if you went there to look for money, and they know you have flouted the policy, they will not give you money. Because people will get to know, this becomes a public document after the bishop has actually ascended to and signed it. They get to know, and they know you are flouting. Even if you are mobilizing to build a chapel, they will say, again, that's not you. Because they know you are somehow avoiding to follow procedure. The other aspect that is critical, I've talked about strategy. Dioceses do not operate in isolation. If you notice in the policy that we have, that is going to be launched, it combines first with talking about responsibilities of the bishop. Where does he get the mandate? Then it talks about the responsibility of the finance council, and I understand we are launching a new team today. Then it talks about responsibilities of those that have been seconded with the powers through the bishop, being administrators, or directors of commissions or parishes, and gives all those things clearly. Not because in some of these things they should not have been in the policy, but because of the nature of the diocese, we had to have that section fully written so that people can understand where are the powers coming from and where do your powers stop. Now, in that, it means you cannot operate with yourself as thinking this is what I want to do. You follow the diocesan strategic plan, and the minimum length of a strategy for a diocese is 30 years. Whatever you're planning should go beyond that kind of level. So my thinking here is that it's still a guide as we have talked, but the most important thing is how do we use the policy to get meaning out of it. Allow me now to talk fully around the financial policy. As I said, I will not read because you have the ability to read, and I have had that opportunity to consult with you. Everybody was reading word per word, even per notes, where I missed a comma, they came back to me. So I know you all have that ability. Now let's talk about implementing the financial policy on behalf of your appointment is a spiritual work, as has already been said. It's practical, it's evangelization. Because if you are going to look for money to build a church,
It's part of evangelization. But how are you going to display that information to the people? How do you collect and let them know that this man has been collected? It's a moral responsibility. It gives you the dignity to actually talk about it. And to me, these are the guiding principles of using the policy. There may be things that will change, because in accounting principles, there are always updates and standards. These days, you are almost every year, the Ministry of Finance changes some articles on how we are managing finances in Uganda. Every year. Even next year, there are going to be some changes. And for those who know that now we are going to have electronic national IDs, and some of you have already gotten them, there are going to be multiple changes because of that particular aspect. You are aware that your team is going to be your need. That means it's going to have implications on how we deal with the employees we have in the diocese and the parishes. If a person is a volunteer, we have given guidelines. A volunteer should not work more than 4 hours. And they should not spend all that time within the parish. Because if they do, sorry to say, you are a scouts, they will come and check, but you say they are volunteers, but they are spending all the time here and even they are eating food here. I think these ones are permanent employees. Then it has implications to the taxation of that particular parish, and also it has implications to the diocese. We have provided guidelines on how to manage that, because currently it's going to become the biggest issue. If they have not come already, they are coming. The other aspects that are critical that we need to watch. We are looking at this from the perspective of planning. The diocese will have the total strategy, but within your parish as the head or under your school, do you have a strategic plan that lies within the diocesan strategy? So that when you are doing your budgeting, the budgeting cannot come out without a plan. You should have a plan, and then you have the budget against that. Now, these guidelines are available within the document. The aspect of cash control. Cash control and revenue. To me, this is something that we consulted heavily, and many people had a lot of ideas in this aspect. Receipting. We are now moving towards digital payments, and actually we are moving towards digital payments, heavily towards digital payments. Your resistance of digital payments will not help the diocese. It will actually take it backwards. In some places, you go to Nakuru, and you're in church, and the only way people are paying for offertory is by Pesa. They don't have any other form. You get the point? How ready are we to embrace some of the digital payments? I was traveling with my friend today when we were coming here from a telecom company, and I told him, I realized I have not carried any cash. I said, but we have the phones, we can pay. And in reality, that is what is happening. You walk and you say, I'm going, but you haven't carried any wallet with you. Many people come and they want to donate. Which methods are we putting in place for revenue collection? How do we account for them? And who actually manages that line of collection? It should not be a personal line. I don't know if you get what I'm talking about. Let me just give you an example. The financial policy states it clearly that if you're a parish priest, there is no reason for you to have to receive the money on your phone, because tomorrow you may leave. Now, if I'm used to sending my tithe, now you have been shifted, you have gone to, even maybe you are studying abroad, I'm sending my money. Because that's all I'm used to that. I'm sending, then sometimes the money bounces back, nobody gives an acknowledgement it was received. So these people, now Catholic priests are different. They even never give acknowledgement. But you are busy studying in another country. You even don't know if the money came, the phone is off. And this has happened, what I'm talking about. So, in principle, you rather have an official line that receives that, and even keep it yourself to say, that is handled by my council. And then the acknowledgements go out to the people that are giving the tithe. they feel more comfortable. And I'm telling you, people like to get that up. We received your tithe, thank you very much. That message alone, and we have done this with your money. We have been able to expand. We have baptized 100 children this year because of what you have given us. Imagine, we are not saying this is how much we have spent on baptizing, but we're saying because of what you have been contributing, we have gotten 100 souls for Jesus Christ. And that is a very big message. So the issue on how we communicate what comes out from the policy, I have actually put in a section which talks about reporting back to the council, the bishop, and to the faithful. So the policy here differs from what we would do a policy of a company. We also have to report back to the faithful. Debt management or asset management. Here, a lot of things can happen. I'm not going through what is in the detail, but I'm highlighting things that are critical that you need to know. You've heard about you want to build and you're borrowing on behalf of the church. You do not have, even if your parish priest or an institution head teacher, hospital, 100% mandate to borrow on behalf of the church without consultation with the Diocesan Council and the bishop authorized. On TV, some of you have seen whereby people have, banks are trying to take properties from the church because someone made a wrong decision. And normally when that wrong decision is done, the person becomes so quiet and they tend to go on the side and say, that will be handled by the vicar. Then the vicar comes in, but I was not aware about this. And the truth is that you need to consult with the money and know how far you go and what you can actually hedge. But now banks are getting brighter. They know anything about the church, they have to go to the bishop. Because they are also being banned. You find yourself, you try to sell a property for the church, the whole community comes out because it's for the church, the faithful. Then you actually, as a bank, you have made a loss because if you have over 1 million people saying, no, you can't take it as a bank, will you take it? You can't. So people are getting brighter. The aspect of oversight and control. In this policy, there are two things that were introduced that were not normally implemented. In most of the dioceses have been too. They don't do this. But I'm seeing it happening now in some of the dioceses. Campus Diocese is doing that. Tororo is doing that. On the finance committee, we have individuals that are meant to be auditing the parishes. That means once in a year after you have given your report, this committee is meant to review and randomly select and visit the parishes to guide you, not to say that where is the money, but to guide you on how you are reporting and how you improve your resources. We have parishes that may have a lot of land, but the land is not being utilized. And you know when you have land that is not being utilized, there's something that happens around it, people grab land. So this committee has the mandate to come and advise and do some of these aspects. So that section is there and it guides on how this committee will come in and work with the principals or the accounting officers in the parishes, in the different departments, in even other businesses that we run as a diocese, to be able to help in formalizing that reporting procedure. The aspect that to me I would like to talk most about today is going to be the fund mobilization. And this is what I will talk about in the next slide. But before I do that, when you are reading this manual, sometimes it's not good that you're going to read the whole thing because you will never finish that. Just get a section. Today I want to understand revenue. How do we collect revenue within our diocese? You just take the sections that are relevant to you. They are broad guidelines, but you can then go in details. In the parish, how are we going to handle this? In our school, how are we handling it? When it comes to expenditure, the same aspect. We have what we call a common chart of accounts. And with the treasurer, the assistant treasurer, I'm sending in what we call, it's going to be in an Excel sheet for you, which is adoptable. That means you can use that Excel sheet to put in your expenditures, because not everybody is conversant with accounting packages. But when you understand how things are placed in an Excel sheet, you will know how the accounting package plays around. Because in accounting package, you enter one figure and then it posts on itself. But when in Excel, it gives you that advantage to see, when I put this figure here, this is where it's going. And you can actually easily run a report and you understand. And even that can be done by anybody who is not even an accountant. So because sometimes you go to parish and the secretary is actually handling the accounts. So how do you help them to do that? We are developing just an Excel which you can use automated, but allows you to do that and conforms to the reporting requirements of the parish, for the diocese. One aspect that is critical, whatever level you are, secretary, treasurer of the parish, we call people that are on different committees, they need to be transparent and honest with finances is critical. I have seen numbers change from 20 million to 100 million in tithing in 3 months when people started announcing that this is what we have collected. I have examples in Kampala and in 3 parishes where I have actually done a few works in there. From 24 million, people collecting 90 million in the 3rd month because we are announcing how much is being collected and where the money is going and what's going to do. So the issue here is about how do we report, how honest are we as a committee in what we are doing. The aspect of financial mobilization, these are the 4 critical aspects. Focus on data. For this policy to work, my Lord Bishop, the diocesan survey has to be done and updated regularly. When they ask you how many schools do you have in your parish, how many learners are in the school, how many faithful are there, you cannot plan for people you don't know. How many horses will you buy if you don't know the faithful in your parish? How many bottles of wine are you going to have if you don't know the people in your parish? It starts by counting the number of people you have, how many are receiving sacraments, so that you can plan for them. How many elderly people do we have as priests, nuns, people that have actually served within the diocese as lay people? How many are those that are being supported by the diocese? How can we plan for them if we don't know where they are? So data is the first thing that we focus on. Then we need to explore what we call our resources. And these days, I think I've discussed it when we have had our consultations before. These days, the church is being faced by land grabbing. If we do not utilize our land now, other people will find use for that land. And if they have not, they already own that land, but projecting for the 10 years relapse, and they tell you, I own. Or Father so-and-so allowed me to use this land and actually gave it to me. And they can forge even documents that someone signed. And they gave them that much for a piece of land. So how do you plan for the land and utilize it? Those are critical aspects of resource mobilization. If you're not using the land, for instance, plant trees on the land. Let the trees be on the land. That is one resource utilized, and you're supporting the environment. You're within the environment impacts contribution and so on. Take on sustainable approaches, and I like it that the Oxfam people are here. When you take approaches that are sustainable, it's better than getting things that we are going to receive money from a particular donor, and after the donor has gone, what shall we do? And I love what happened to us when USAID closed. It was an eye-opener. How many of us were affected? Many were affected. Life was changed because we are not expecting that to happen. But the truth is, the missionaries were coming from the other side, now the missionaries are coming from Africa. How are you going to send a black priest to the other side and you don't send them with the money? very soon it's going to be that you have to send them with money to go and work in those dioceses, because they are having 5 Christians in a very big cafe. How will you survive? You have to send your colleague there with money because they are souls to be looked after. So the money is going to come from here because we have the resources that are untapped. So the issue is that we now need to think a little bit differently to mobilize funds from within where we are. If I'm allowed, I can talk about what we have here as I conclude. In Hoima. Guys, are interested on oil? You know it? You are? Even somewhere here, you may find that there's some gas somewhere in one of our parishes. But the question is going to be investment. You are in charge of investment. I'm not going to say much, but don't hurt me for this. What kind of arrangement are you going to have with the government to have a share on what is being taken out of the ground? Because that is a resource that the church will benefit from. Can you go and learn from what is happening in Karamoja? The Moroto community, I think under the leadership of Honorable Prukor, they set up an arrangement, which was the first one in the whole of this country, whereby whoever is doing any mining in that region, they take 30% of the resources and profits, the first of its kind. The church can do that. You have the muscle. If it's within your environment and land, why can't you negotiate with government? There is a precedent already set. If you want, I can give you the contact of Honorable Prukor. Talk to him. How did he do it? It went through Parliament. He's actually managing part of that. They are building water wells, hospitals from all mines coming from that area. Mabo, Gamma Arabica, everything that is coming out, they get a percentage. They set up a company to actually pick from that. This is how I'm talking about managing resources that are within our environment. I will not go very far. I just tap on what is sustainable. The other aspect is embracing digital channels. Digital channels help us to trace where the money comes from, and we also know who has paid and who has not paid. But also brings in an element of transparency. That means we can report at all levels, parish level, to the people that are contributing, the parish level, and to the diocese. We need to think about it, and then we need to be output oriented. What do we want whenever we collect money? So that people know the result of what we're doing, that is being accountable. Lastly, when I was asked to make a comment on this, it was about you cannot have a finance policy without a proper mobilization of funds, because then you say, we have the policy, but where is it for us to manage? There's nothing, okay? So it becomes a document on the shelf, which I don't really want to see. We have schools, but how many are reporting the actual numbers in the schools so that you can make a contributions to the diocese? When I look at the numbers I was given, I'm going to run these numbers briefly. These are some of the numbers I had. These are estimate numbers. But I just decided this morning to put up an indication. If every child in the pre-primary school was contributing 2,000 shillings a term, we have 3 terms, you would pick up 95 million in a year. But the burden for managing our aging priests is there. This money is there, collecting it. So, you're going to talk about other things. I'm leaving it in that open part. Primary schools. If we only collected, even if it's just 3,000, I know someone in the document will put 5,000, but I put it as low as that. That would be 1.7 billion in a year. If we collected, I am saying if the money comes, even if it's as little as 1,000, but it's collected, delegated, and it reaches where it has to be, and then it's planned for backwards, that improves the process. And also that will increase what you get as your annual levies. So I'm just giving you that we may have 2.2 billion, and that alone can somehow take 60% of the Diocesan budget. 60% can actually cover just in only one arm of service, education. Now if I go to the businesses we have, don't ask me to do that, I'm going to stop there. The faithful can build the church. On the aspect, I think it's on page 34, when we talk about the annual Bishops Basket Fund. In that component, we talk about having an annual levy that every faithful could give to that particular basket. Imagine you know the number of the faithful you have, and they are giving it diligently and it's being collected. How much of that money will contribute? The other one you said is 60%. Now, if you have 1.2 Catholics within Hoima Diocese, and all of them, even those in Kampala, are contributing that 2,000 to you within an electronic system, and it's coming diligently, the Treasury will not have problems. They can actually support backwards. There are other models which I know my colleagues are going to be talking about, but let me give you one model that will be adopted. This is picking up in Africa. Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya are doing quite well in these areas, where we have joint building societies, investment societies. The faithful are being brought together and said, we need to build a hostel for our university. The faithful come in as a building within the building society, which is partly owned by the church. And they all invest, they have a share. You build hostels for the university. For generations, they are not going to be poor because the revenues they are getting from what is coming out of the society, they are also giving their 10% back to the church, but they are members. But what have you done? You have tapped on resources of people who are all over the place and they belong to Hoima Diocese, and they are putting money together to build a hostel for university you started. And you're benefiting from it, and they're benefiting. And for them, it's a legacy because they're passing it on to their children. So we need to think out of the box to get this working. Community-based service-driven programs. That's how Centenary started. But let's use an example, and I'm going to ask Michael, who came with me, to give you an example of a telecom where you can have a franchise of a telecom. And the diocese makes something like 20%, please can you come forward, 20% of all the collections that's making as a commission, and also the parishes get a percentage. That is something that can be done. In a minute we'll be presenting that for you. There are things that we have to do, just a minute. There are things we have to do to actually highlight the potential. I think they're doing this in Fort Portal and in another place. You're going to give us 5 minutes and then you give us a quick pitch on that.
My Lord Bishop, the team of the financial committee, brother, priests and friends. I am Agama Michael Kashika and I'm from Baxter Telecom under the Habitat Group, and I'm the National Sales Director. Very quickly to pass through what Brother Robert is saying. I would like to just briefly talk about Baxter and Hamilton. Hamilton is a telecom company that was started in Uganda in 2017. But then later, we transformed it into a full-fledged telecom company that is running under what we call the Baxter network. And we are running both virtual enabler and virtual operator. Virtual operator, I mean phone calls, data, messages, mobile money, and what have you. Now, this telecom company is virtually based mostly on the social teachings of the Catholic Church. When we came, we approached majorly the Catholic community, and we endorsed by the Episcopal Conference. We have started working with dioceses across the country. Because I've been just given a slot within Robert's time, let me just cut it short. We offer products in such a way that we look from up to bottom on the operations, especially as my Lord Bishop was talking about the Friends of the Bishop. We have have schools and the like. We create governance and church alignment in terms of financial management and flows to pick such contributions. We look at savings. If, for instance, we have said each school, each student, or each Christian at a local level is going to be contributing 10,000 shillings per year. How do we create it? We create mobile wallets, and even if somebody is to pay, say, 10,000, he does not need to wait to pay at the end of the year or 50. A credit system that will always keep knocking, say, on a monthly basis, and money will keep moving, going to the account of the wallet of the church. It will help in giving proper financial accounting and transparency. For example, if money has come from the HICA to the center, the diocese, the priest doesn't need to drive a car to go carrying the money up to the treasury. Money will just move by its own self. Reporting, accountability, security of the money, data protection, everything is taken care of. Now, we do this fully by trying to understand the population, integrate them in our system, because we are well properly governed. No data of the church is going to get lost, going to the public or wherever. It is a system that is supposed to align with the operations of the church. And at the end of the day, what happens? The diocese becomes the overall owner, overlooking at this program. Parishes become agents of this, and then the laity run the entire system. And our model is that when we are moving money and the like, the diocese picks the share of all the commissions that are moving with this money. What do we mean? When you have MTN that moves billions of money outside every month, Airtel is moving billions of money at the end of every month. But for us, we are working, pushing money through other companies, and yet ourselves, our money within itself. But of course, given all the time, I'm going to make a proper document. We discuss and see how we can make such happen. But thank you so much for this short notice. And
thank you. When I had a chat with Father James, he looked at resource mobilization. I had seen them make the presentation in another diocese. And I just said, it's an opportunity to look at how can we collect staff. They are doing that. They're modeling a system for collecting staff in Kampala Diocese. They are modeling a system for another bishop, again for you and your basket. I said, I think I have a solution. So I called him short notice yesterday. I told him, we are driving to Hoima. I want to just say only 5 months, because this may change how we collect funds for the diocese. And the other aspect is they are using a community telecom. Community telecoms are a new making in the country, whereby you can have your network within a network. You own that franchise, and that's exactly what we're looking at. Lastly, as I conclude, we need to collect, to mobilize funds, collect, generate, utilize, and then reinvest. This is what this policy talks about. How do you collect, mobilize, collect, regenerate those funds, utilize them, and then reinvest the funds. As I say, thank you very much for this opportunity. We are just stewards, not owners of what we do. We are serving today, and we protect everything we do for tomorrow. We are just given an honor to serve on behalf of Christ. So we are just meant to be stewards and good stewards. The policy will give us that guide. I pass it on to you, my chair. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present this.
Yes, and officially, let me ask the congregation to make a very big clap for Mr. As he explained everything, we could all notice that he is very technical, he is very experienced in these matters, and we really feel confident that we will be moving. Now, we must be following up our time on the timetables and so on, and we are not doing very well, but also we are using the time with the right things. And so at this juncture, I want to invite just a few reactions. Here from our desk, we agreed that we could have maybe only 4 reactions. It's not that today we are going to understand this policy 100%, because as you can actually see, the way it was framed, it is highlights. He has been giving some highlights. He was not explaining the whole finance policy, but highlights. And so we could react to each of all the highlights that have been given to us. And let me also is reminding me that there are going to be other opportunities of interaction about this policy. So today is not the first and last, but more opportunities will be put forward for us so that we can tuongere kutamu kintu tusole kujituramu. So dear friends, let me have a few months, and then we will see. Oh, as if all have understood the highlights. Sisters, yes, Father Everest.
Dear my Lord Bishop, and the courier, our chief guest, and members present, I represent St. John Bosco Minor Seminary Hoima as the Vice Rector Administration. I would like to make my comment of appreciation that as a church institutions, we are privately founded, but we publicly operate. That's what I have come to acknowledge. And in being privately founded, we have a direct connection with the public. Therefore, by engaging ourselves with the public line of collecting their finances, then the finances are not private. Therefore, we are obliged to be guided by the Diocesan finance policy so that we can also comply with the national laws, the 1,259 church law and 1,260 church law gives us an opportunity to mobilize resources and own temporal goods of the church. But in our operations, we have found ourselves that we are public, though we are privately founded. I thank our chief guest for enlightening us that in our processes of mobilizing, acquiring, and using and investing resources, we need to be guided. And for that, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bishop, the Finance Commission, and indeed all of us for this big achievement. I would like to commend the consultant because this process is always a lengthy and rigorous one. You were given over and you've been able to present to us a smelted product which we can rely on to make sure all the operations in the diocese are smart. I invite all the attendees to give you an applause. The policy aside, through your talk, you had a number of important aspects which I want to speak to. You have highlighted the essence of having parishes, commissions, and institutions in the diocese being in sync with the strategic plan of the diocese, but also the finance policy. This is an important aspect, and we can write a whole essay about it. All I must say is a challenge to us to make sure we embrace it, because that is what is going to inform progression at the same wavelength at all levels of the diocese. But that aside, you have also reminded us of foresight planning. Whatever we are doing, we should not be reactive. We should not just look at the near tomorrow. It's important to look at decades ahead of us. Whatever we do must stand the test of time. And that is very, very key in this era. We cannot plan for 2 years, lest we become like headless chicken. But also thank you for massaging our brain and presenting some of these plausible ideas that can help us to answer the question of the Hoima diocese we want. So after here we can process, we can regurgitate, and I want to imagine we shall be able to come up with what is practical, what we can apply as Hoima Catholic Diocese. As I wind up, the policy is here, we are going to launch it, we have not arrived. We are now going to dive into another critical phase of making sure the policy works, of making sure the policy is operationalized. And for this to happen, firstly, we are supposed to embrace and adopt the policy as it is, and as an overarching policy, meaning whatever is being done at parish level, in the commissions, and in the different institutions of the diocese, they're supposed to comply. They should take this as an overarching policy. The other thing is we have to assimilate, we have to understand the content of this policy, and maybe this request now goes to the Secretary of Finance Commission to see to it that each one of us gets a copy. This may be an e-copy or a hard copy, so that we revise, we understand, we assimilate the content, then embark on implementation of the key ingredients in the policy. And lastly, this policy is not cast in stone. It's an evergreen document. It's a living document. When we start to apply it, we may discover some omissions, but we will also discover some areas which will not be that important based on the demands of the time and the good practices. It's now will be our task, our responsibility to give feedback to the Finance Commission, so that at an optimal moment when we get to review the policy, we can make those constructive submissions to improve on the policy. Once again, I congratulate my Lord the Bishop and the consultant for this stellar work, this stellar performance. We are here to witness the launch. Thank you.
Yes.
Bishop, Reverend Father Vincent Kirawu Amot, the clergy, and the congregation around. My name is Mande Atanas, the head of laity, Abujumbura Cathedral Parish. I thank the Bishop and the entire team that you worked upon with to organize this historic day in our diocese as we launch the financial policy. Of course, by this, we shall have transparency. Transparency will be availed, and it's the key aspect of all the financial institutions, the churches, hospitals, schools. We thank you, my Lord Bishop. We shall read the manual and get all the details, because we know there is a lot, and I expect that before we leave, we shall all have these copies of the manual, and it will guide us to put in place all that you came upon. My Lord Bishop, by your good leadership, we expect to get more and more of this kind, and may the Lord guide you as you lead us through your time of leadership. Thank you.
My Lord the Bishop, the Right Reverend Bishop Vincent Kirawu Amot, the clergy present, and all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nicholas Agaba. I work with the Projects Office in the Finance Department. I would like to thank the efforts for development of this policy. Developing a policy is not an easy task. I want to imagine the hardships you have gone through to bring or to develop this document. We have been having or struggling to develop a safeguarding policy with Father James. And we have had a series of back and forth with the consultants in Nairobi. It's not an easy task working with consultants. You work on a document, then you may think it is now ready, then it is thrown back to you. So really, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you for working through this document. And I want to say that this is not time now for applications, but it is a time to think out of the box to ensure that this document, which has been developed, works or becomes a practical document. We want to see that there is long-term growth and consistency, transparency, and stability of our organization of the diocese. These days, when we are doing fundraising, the funders actually require these policies. One of the documents they ask is the finance policy. Before we give you money, do you have a finance policy which actually primarily ensures accountability transparency, and the proper use of money. Do you have the policy? If you don't have the policy, much as you have developed a very good proposal, you will not be funded. So I'm praying, and actually we envision having a breathing document to ensure that we have stability in our diocese. And as Dr. Sam has said, let us ensure that the document breathes.
If you could try to summarize that suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Father. And I think the document will help us to provide clear rules for management of money, ensuring our and safeguarding our assets. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Maybe for the gender balance, we could have earmarked for, but we realize now is a lady question still missing. We have one consultant.
Some of them have been remarks. Thank you very much. But I wanted to just make a mention from Father Rector. He made a comment on regard to the canon law. When you read the policy, you find that for every policy there is a reference to the canon law. And then it also has a reference to the statutory requirement. And what he has said, the two seminaries, they are also being really affected by disclosure of financial records. Now that is happening both with URA, NSSF, and NSSF. We have had like two institutions that are affecting most of our institutions, regardless whether we are educating seminarians or we are educating other people, and especially both on the staff and the people working in the seminary. So you need to respect those things because they can lead to a school having either to be closed or something to happen, and yet it's a church institution. Your observations are right. The other aspect that you mentioned that is quite interesting, especially from Dr. M, this is a living document. The reality is that certain things are going to change even tomorrow. At the time I was about to submit, something came up from IFRIS, and I went back to do the research around IFRIS. If you notice in the document we have introduced what they call sub-accounts. There are projects that are done at sub-parishes. I know sub-parishes at, sorry, I talk about sub-parishes because I'm in charge of the parish and I deal with sub-parishes. So we tend to have projects at a sub-parish in Kampala, and it actually attracts tax. So where does that, how does it account for the tax? You have to get a sub-team. Now, I have talked to Father that you may need to think of how to create sub-teams for some of the projects that have to do accountability, so that the team of the diocese is not affected by non-payments of a particular service that no one paid. So I had to write that because I realized it's a big problem in some places. The other thing that comes out from what you have just said that we need to observe, there are some organizations like we have Caritas, Oxfam, and that already have policies in place. If you have a running policy that is effective, it is okay to work with that policy. This one gives you the diocesan guideline, but if your policy, like I think with the Caritas, I looked at theirs, they already have something quite good. It can still operate, but if you have a section of your policy that is missing, this one overrides it. I don't know if you get the point. This overrides it. So if you are in a parish or in an institution and you don't have anything written down, this one is an overriding policy. You cannot say, we never had one, so we did what we are doing. This is an overriding policy. But if you have something and it's in line, then you are fine. But if you don't have anything, this overrides. It's a living document and we gave it time for review. That means the committee, the finance committee with the guidance of the chair, they have an opportunity to receive remarks from the different institutions and have those ones compiled, and the document can be updated. as and when the date of this called for. Lastly, is about how do we implement. Very true, implementation will require orientation of the different officers, and that will be a continuous process. And I think on the committee, there is someone who is going to be in charge on education, audit, and promoting the actual policy. Thank you very much for those remarks.
So from the chair, we thank you once again for responding to those reactions. And now let me ask Mr. our moderator also to guide a little on our proceedings.
Thank you very much, Chancellor. I want to take this pleasure to thank you, Mr. Kinto, and your team for the tireless efforts. And now that we have a document we can speak about. When you were presenting, I remember the few words and stories and topics I learned back in 2005. The early thinkers, John Locke and Thomas Hobbes, lived in a society, and they described that a society or a community without rules and government, in bracket, a state of nature. And they said that society was very solitary, was very poor, was very nasty. It was so brutal, and it was very short. It was driven by self-preservation that everyone wanted, for me and myself. And it was also characterized by fear. People fear to take initiatives. People fear to see what is in their houses. But also there was a lot of competition. Who wins? Who does better? But later they sat like we are sitting today and said, we want a society that is going to be governed by rules, procedures, and a way forward. And that's why we are here. Now, the chairperson is going to lead us. If you think it is not appropriate that we should have such a policy guiding us, you put up your hand and we say for you, you are saying no. And if you're for the yes, we say we want the policy to move on and we accept and move to another chairperson.
So, the task being brought down to the chair is simple. Let us see those who say, yes, the policy should go ahead. Is that what we have been brought down to the ones that say they are ready? How do you go back?
I think the yes have it. Thank you very much, we come for you for this guidance. Okay. Now, once the policy has been accepted, we begin laying the strategy for its implementation. The strategy for its implementation. And one of them will be the friends of the bishop. And here I am to invite the head of the lady to tell us about the friends of the bishop. John Mary Sembo, you are most welcome. Very many people are confused John Mary Sembo with John Mary. I think now I want to make a difference. John Mary Sembo going to present is the head of the lady of the diocese. John Mary Sembo is head of the lady of Catholic Parish. Someone working on this projector? Thank you very much, my Lord Bishop. My Lord Bishop, our chairman for this meeting, all the clergy and the people present.
very important meeting. Yeah. I'll begin with just one or two comments about the policy. One is to congratulate the bishop and the entire team upon coming up with this policy, which has won majority approval, as the question was put by the chairman of this session. I would like to request that we begin by implementing the policy, not reviewing it. We begin by implementation, not review. I know it's very possible that everything is complicated. Let us change this one. Before we change, let us implement, because a lot of it is implementable. And my Lord Bishop and all people present here, stakeholders, the Bishop said this is the first policy manual, finance policy manual of this diocese. So it means we've never had something like this. It constitutes a life-changing, a life-altering change. And usually we approach change in most cases with a lot of fear and rejection. I would like to encourage all of us to be courageous. We who will implement and work with this document, and the finance department that will be enforcing it, stick to it and make sure it works. Because I'm reflecting back in the parish what this policy means. You've got to record all your collections. You've got to bank, no spending at source, have a budget, stick to it in the parish. It's going to change things very, very critically. Let's be courageous and implement this. It works. Going to the friends of the bishop. This is a concept that we are presenting today. I thank the bishop already who highlighted it in his address, and in other dioceses this is already existing. It's not something new for Hoima Catholic Diocese. In some places it's called Bafu, Bishop's Annual Appeal Fund. I think in Kampala it's Safu, Sabasumba Annual Appeal Fund. It's something like that. Here it takes a new friends of the bishop for the purpose. The idea is to motivate at least 1,000 high and middle income individuals or families across the diocese who commit to cheerfully, that word cheerfully, donate at least 1 million shillings to the bishop. Sometimes we donate but not cheerfully. We donate with a lot of pain. We donate with a lot of complaints. We give it with so many negative words accompanying it to bring around about hayo kitabu kwa hili utaki honest down bait nikigawa mtima kana mkiayo amokoa ukusobora kiayo kana kugonza. The target is to raise at least 1 million shillings annually. Of course, I talked about higher middle income, but we have got also lower income earners who want to be friends of the bishop. So we don't exclude anybody, and so we can have people contributing between 100,000 and 900,000 something, maybe below 1 million. But even for the 1 million, that is the minimum. If you want to give the bishop, your friend, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, please, you are most welcome. There's no limit to the ceiling. You can give as much as you want to give or you are able to give. And this commitment is reviewed and renewed annually. Utatina gana akakaila mwaka ndikabona omwana ulifaa you commit every year. If you are able to do it this year, please do it. Next year, if your circumstances change, you are free to review and move or give accordingly. We call these people friends of the bishop because you consciously choose to prioritize the financial needs and the pastoral duties of the bishop by integrating them into your own personal or family and your plans and budgets. That's what makes you a friend. Omunywanyi akwatahara, omunywanyi aitahara, omunywanyi amalabiri. So you give because you are a friend. You are a friend of Quatramo, Bishop Manuel, Abuyetako, Namujuranzimo Baby, Kurele, Isazali. Our objectives, the Bishop already highlighted this very well. The objectives of this fund, we want to create a fund that can enable the Bishop to complete a prioritized commercial project or income generating venture annually. We would like that every year the bishop leads us, we commit to implementing a concrete project. Ndio tukibala tugabe mwaka huu evaluate tukitayarisha we have set it up and it is running. It's not something kiokora hicho ebindi bikatandika kuchunga tutakabona kumaliza bakagamba amunako wabana azangaka akusasema kilo ngulu abo kwimba kutakura bija kuchunga myanda ngayikume Burundi kitara no gora kuchunga okora kake. So we want to make sure we implement one full project to Gimara and intensive. And I think Mr. Kintu highlighted it also, but the bishop too, this mindset of consumption versus investment. I've never understood until now. While every diocese is spending millions of money every year going to Namco, doing the same things. All these budgets for hiring chairs, I don't know, for hiring every diocese is buying bulbs every year, billions of money. Look at what the governments have done. They have built their place, put chairs, put everything, they have put the public system is done once. But for us, everyone is struggling, billion, and we are spending on the same thing. Someone must ask, what is wrong with these Catholics? We need to move away from this. What stops us from fixing the public system here so that we don't have to every time we are having a meeting here in this hall? Fix it, finish it, we move forward to see the same thing, every day doing the same thing. We want to boost, promote, diversify and strengthen the income base of this diocese. The bishop of the bishop was able to have a because some of you may become bishops. But because there is a lot of doing it, however we are making. We want to improve the diocese's recurrent expense. expenditure or the current budget. Not to approve budgets before we spend. But to say that your budgeting from month to month, we need to move away from this. And we want to build the diocese's capacity to invest in social services with more ease. I think Bishop Yamazai was a miserable pastor when he did not build a university in this diocese. But we need to move away from this. Some of you have heard me talk about these things. These are just examples of the I don't know how we were operating where we were, but we went to Tema Big Factory back up and running very profitably. If you look at the bricks, it's still a good comparing with this year, the quality is different. And I think machinery and the mill could have issues. Can we prioritize this? We capitalize that factory and because the demand that can produce what we used to produce. I was looking at my dining table this morning. You can't buy anywhere in this country. It must be from window. But when the land will bring away, can you do that? Construction department, to come around building the instrument. It's organized. Masaka to about to that. Only we have so square meters of land. We invest, we make money. I have talked about these things. The programs we have in Kampala. You see what you're doing on your left. Kampala is now for 7 years. But as we look at the left, that's how we found that product. That is the house that is there. 27 years. College is meeting money on Kigeta. The owner of this plot is crossing Mukajwa. We were different from that. How can we have a Hoima misery as it is? And something like big mistakes. People are making money. Hoima Diocese is in a small house. Hoima house, don't wait for family who must keep it. Just presiding over misery. We want to buy from that. We want to move away from that to call it we must be different. We want to school, we want to invest in a we must operate in a different way from. Some of these people didn't go to school and we can't go to us. We can't go there. No. But see, look at the houses that are made up in our house. And everybody is going to spending a night in that design. And in Kampala, we have seen this. The police say just half a road and the rest of it is money. If you want to build 15 stories, whatever you want to do, you can. I will never go to Kizaki. So, I think look at these houses rotting down. People don't have people who have prayed things down. We need to get these things moving. Problem should have begun as the problem. I'm not presenting very professionally, but that's where we are. We are owning property, but non-performing business assets with very high potential commercial value. But we call a very well government, people are dividends overcome. What is million chicken running a diocese? I'm calling it's very small money. Some of those people see never know people. They are running annual budgets of 500 million, 1 billion, and the bishop who is managing the whole diocese is looking at 100 million shillings. We have to move beyond this. And the insufficient, apart from the overcome Tamagire, Yellow Murundu, and Noble Rabazinga, Tamagere, Eleza Confirmacio, Parabayo Benga, Navandi Baguyaga. The man lives, a woman's Bogumke. We can't subject our bishop to that kind of a life. He needs to rest, he needs to know, according to Kurundi, to weigh some of these pressures. And limited investment in vital social services, to get tertiary education, to get secondary and tertiary health. I always look at this hospital, St. Mary's. I have my own fears. I know we have been in the war room and we are doing a lot of things. But to its full capacity, what I read in that document for us hospital, we need billion coming up. Now, billion coming up to build that hospital. Where does it come from? Ito tukusagisa wazingaha at the end of the year, what is our annual income, net income, tumazile kole billion. I don't know what Father Leon's accounts look like. Now, even if we say Friends of the Bishop goes to the hospital, we need 120 years to build that hospital. So if we want to do things like this, we must think different, we must work different to make sure when we plan, we also have the ability. The small economics, I remember the definition of demand. It's not just desire, it is desire backed by ability to pay. So you can't just have all the big ideas when you don't have the ability to pay for them, to purchase them. That only remains a wish. So we need to make sure that we are investing in income generating ventures in a major way so that we are able to raise money to call them in a meeting. If we took regular call, to come in the men of you are aging, you end up in that place. How do you look after you? When you are there, we should have money. Bible still comfortable. The bishop attack because maybe next week. Because but when we are able to help them, support them, then it's very easy to take care of them. Our mode of operation for this, the bishop will constitute a committee from the finance council that can run this, registering people and following up to make sure they control. To announce now to the friends of the bishop, this is our project this year. So when your money comes, this is what we want to do. And of course, there will be technical teams that are already working through this. so that again it's not a gamble. We know it requires so much money, we raise it, implement it, finish it, get it working. And then the funds are collected and managed centrally by the finance administrator in accordance with our manual here. We don't want to fragment things, no. And then there will be the annual reunion of the Friends of the Bishop at a date and venue specified. And when we come for the reunion, beginning with the second year, we want to go and meet at that completed project. We see what it is, interact with the bishop, we get a brief, the bishop gives us a blessing, and then we move. And we'll have a specific bank account to do that, and the Friends of the Bishop will pay either through the bank or the digital platforms like we have been explained here, and then send the proof of payment to the finance department. And we have our friends from Guinea and the overseas diaspora. The bishop may designate these as other vicariates. We have 4. Guinea can become the 5th. And men and women who stay overseas, we can consider them also into their vicariate. The bishop will appoint a vicar there to help us for this particular purpose, so that we are all content. We want all this money to come from the way it is. We're not limiting ourselves to Hoima Diocese and geographically. Hoima Diocese is living everywhere in the world. So we want to get to all those places, pick that money, bring it here, because they too are friends of the bishop. Then a consistent mode of operation will be established, but for now, we want each parish to identify, motivate, and register those people interested in becoming friends of the bishop. And then this is the job for the parish priest and the head of laity and the entire team there. Identify those people in the parish, and we request that these names are submitted to the dean by the 1st of February. We are trying to put a timeline. And then the deans will submit these names, having collected from the parishes, to the episcopal vicar by the 10th of February next year. And then the episcopal vicars to submit to the secretariat by the 15th of February next year. And then the Friends of the Bishop appeal 2026. We want it to be launched on the 28th of February when we celebrate the consecration anniversary of our bishop. We want to have that list, and we are saying these are the Friends of the Bishop, and the collection is now starting. There is a bit of bureaucracy there. You might ask, oh, why doesn't the parish priest send straight? Synodality. We want to move together. Everybody needs to be involved. And we want to see which vicariate, okay, no, it's not competition, but we want to identify ourselves in our vicariates. So the episcopal vicars will be the ones to announce to the bishop the friends in their vicariate who are going to be there to support the bishop next year. And we want the bank account open by 15th, and the pledges, we would like to see them cleared by 30th of June. We said we want to pay without pain, we want to pay without complaint, and we want to pay on purpose. The bishop is in a hurry to do stuff. Once we promise him, let us fulfill the earliest possible, so that implementation implementation of the first project starts at least on the 1st or by the 1st of August. Bagamba kora hekato kaisaru. So twatufire musakiko mulisa, tumusakiko mbwirogo, and we move forward. This is work in progress. Membership categories. People like to be categorized. Yes, the guys who are giving a loan can be gold. We think about gold single or gold double. If I can give $1 million and Naulina can give $1 million, my friends, our family is giving $2 million. We have 2 golds in the house. So we belong to gold double. If I'm the only one who gives for my family, it's gold single. It's just for identification. And silver single, silver double, bronze single, bronze double. Sometimes there is iron also. So, stuff like that. And we move. I strongly believe this is something achievable. I don't know whether you agree with me. This is something very, very achievable. You see, you people live in this country, you go to places. I don't agree that there is more poverty in this country than wealth. People in this country are rich, people have money. People have money. My Lord Bishop will remember, only this year we made a pilgrimage to Rome. We were 89 people, but we spent close to 1 million shillings. 80 people going to Rome. Paid 900 million shillings. And it was within us. If you saw that group at the airport, their homes never collapsed because they went to Rome. Their children never dropped out of school because they went to Rome. No. Life is continuing as if nothing happened, as if they didn't spend anything. And there are many more people like this in this diocese. They have been opening parishes. May I look, my parish priest is your father, what is Father Peter? That man, for me, it's a wonder I can't see it far. When I see what he's doing in Bukon, some people think he has donors. We have 0 donors in Bukon. All this money comes from Paris and Iraqis. They are carrying a lot of wealth. I think I'm to call it sacerdote. Someone say, if you touch their hearts, they will touch their wallets. Touch the hearts of your parishioners, they will touch their wallets, and there is a lot of money in their wallets. Mr. King has mentioned here, when of you are going to Europe, please, you go to Europe, you get some money from there. But I think many of you know and have proved that there is more money than in Europe. People can contribute more money. Father Peter, you built St. Cyprian. If you remember how much you got from your friends in Europe, and compare with what you got from your friends in St. Cyprian, to put up that place, you have your story complete. So respect, people here have money, the money we need, and we can give it for a good cause. So let's go with courage, with resolve, knowing this is achievable. It takes courage. It takes long-term commitment. Get committed to it. It works. Oko Father Pitoko asika nibatabura obusenge ate ngeza arasasula bojo agaka ndewe yomukyalo he comes back with Mtwara as a rebel. He comes back and he moves. He's building a church in less than a year. That man. And I know Pagamba or Mutohalia Manya, because maybe I'm called and but all of you have your stories everywhere you are. So, going in a different direction. So, but you have your stories and things are possible. It takes visionary leadership. But tukambira hano bwalaba ine emyaka ana teza mwaka kasatu bwaine emyaka atano haliyo nyina atano nisatso matulai. That's why I'm talking about things like this. Hivi tukuba kakimpaili, you know story of Msaija nkakumanya wala Msaija muzivu okome byotakozeke. We don't want to be in that category. Yeah, ogese byotasigire nkakumanya hati wabayiro manyire habaki bitu byako tabitekero mbaka kagoma. So we need to move away from that. Let us have long-term visions to call it to and then it takes love of the goal, love of the purpose. If we love this, we will have the will. Where there is a will, there is always a way. And I have no doubt about that. Dingira, for now, I stop here. I thank you for listening to me. Thank you for buying in. And I want to request you, all of you, to be the first ones on the list of the friends of the bishop. And then go and call your other friends to be friends of the bishop. And when we do that, it is for the good of everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. John Menisebo, the head of the laity, for the wonderful presentation that you have made. Let's clap for him again. We had intended to have reaction to that, but depending on our program, I'm going to request the chairperson to ask you again whether you who have been selected on this today to come here, you approve the strategy that has been put forward, or we abandon it here and now. Chairperson, over to you.
Thank you. And before I do that, which I'm to do very soon, Chancellor has whispered to me that he could supplement something small to that presentation.
Thank you very much, our chair, my Lord Bishop, and you, my brothers and sisters. Today is a very historical day in the life of our church, our local particular church. He mentioned this wonderful initiative, and Mr. Kim mentioned that data is the basis. I want to mention that we have 58 parishes. And with 58, if 54, but I have also included those more or less the quasi parishes, you would call them. So, given that some of them are already independent in one or another, we qualify them at that level. So, 58, if we got 20, the first 20 friends of the bishop from each parish, you have 1,160 members. 1 million per these members, you have 1 million plus. Multiply you are set to go. So I had to mention that as he's calculating, or as we are calculating, by June or July, on the account, we should have 1 point something billion. It is possible. I had to make that, I'm saying it is possible, but the chair has to pose the question. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Chancellor, for that addition. Then back to our question to you, the entire congregation. Is this possible? Is this achievable? By show of hands, again, let us. Who are the people who say it is possible? Oh yes, including the bishop. If the bishop says it is possible, who can say no? You see, this subject, on face value, if you are not given such a good explanation, you may not understand it. Because on face value, it can raise, friends of the bishop, on face value, it raises many questions. Who are the enemies of the bishop? Who are not the friends of the bishop? Especially in Hoima Diocese, the Christians who are in Hoima Diocese. Who is not a friend of the bishop? I wish you could ask this from confirmation, please. Who are the friends of the bishop? All of them would say. But now, I think what Mr. John Melix has challenged us on is, when you translate this into practical terms, it leads us to do this commitment, which is not small, which is heavy, but possible. I like the American saying, yes, we can. And with that, they achieve a lot of things. We are happy. Well, let us really, before we make more comments, give a very, very big clap for Mr. John May for this. When he was presenting, shortly before he put down the microphone, he even pointed at the kind of way forward. I noted here that he proposed a committee would be put in place so that they don't remain as ideas compiled from brainstorming, but also he elaborated and required procedures, and these have been noted here already by this desk. So now, in a short time, we want to allow at least 2 reactions, because in principle we have said, yes, we can, yes, it is achievable, but let us also comment something about it. I see a hand behind there. Yeah. First announce to us your name briefly. Don't go to the protocol of thanking all of us.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Father Godfrey. I'm from Diocesan Catholic Parish. I want to move a vote of thanks to the head of the laity for the wonderful presentation and the ideas that you have come up with. I, for one, totally agree with you for the initiative that you have come up with. May I request that you share with us a soft copy of your concept, so that when we go away here, we can read it and internalize it more in order to effect it. I, for one, will post for a copy. Secondly, may I request for your guidance on how sustainable is this idea going to be? In most cases, when we come up with such ideas, people quickly move on and they can easily declare themselves as friends of the bishop. And the impression I have got, to be a friend of the bishop, one thing you must fulfill is your financial support to him. One of the qualifications. The others will come along. But how sustainable is it going to be? And if I am a friend of the bishop, in the Rugano we say, how is the bishop going to sustain his friends in order not to run away from him? I'm not asking him to give us money. I know he may be worried. My Lord Bishop, we are not going to request for money. But in their submission, I didn't hear his part that is going to play as our friend also. Because we are his friends, but I think he's also our friend. Shall we be having a moment of like a pastoral approach of how the bishop is going to visit his friends, maybe in the form of mass or a prayer moment? That I stand to be guided how the bishop is going to his friends, not to run away from him. Investment strategy. With you that we can do something at the diocesan level that is visible. Or it can be more than 1 year, depending on the magnitude of the project. I totally agree with you. However, I also stand to be guided that from the resources that we are going to mobilize to put up a diocesan project will come from the lowest or the grassroots, from the local people. And in the long run, you find that there is that chain of the cash flows, maybe from the sub-parishes, we find there some friends of the bishop. In the parish, we find there some friends of the bishop, and so on. However, may I suggest that just as we have had this finance policy as one arm, which Mr. King talked about, the investment part of it, can we also come up with an investment strategy that is cross-cutting in the diocese? What is our investment strategy as a diocese now? We have different endowments in our diocese, but we find each parish has its own investment. You find someone is, let me use the example of Kiba. Kiba, we are endowed with fertile soils, very rich, very productive. But you find parish priest in Kiba is investing in rentals. Is that the best option for investment?
Father, if you could summarize some of these I'm now also guided that some of these are featuring in our details. And also for further discussion, which we may not really sustain at this moment. Here we are making small general observations. We request you to kindly conclude.
I was requesting, or I'm requesting, that let there be maybe a committee that can give guidance on the choice of the investments that we are doing in our diocese. And lastly, let us think big. That if we are investing maybe in family, let us stop the business of 1 acre of coffee, 1 acre, 2 acres of cocoa, when we are seated on 100-acre piece of land. It's a big.
Thank you, Father. Thank you. And one of the biggest points Father has made is how do we sustain our friendship? And it is not going to be on one side, and because the friendship is on both parties, no? So it is our task, Father, now all of us who are here, once we declare friendship with the bishop, to see that we sustain it all together. Maybe we get only one more reaction, and kindly, let us kindly limit ourselves to the friends of the bishop presentation. You have something?
Thank you, Chair. Mine is to take away the fears within the policies clear under your guidance that this particular investment falls under a subcommittee national development and investment. And when you talked about what kind of investment should be done, some of the tasks for this particular committee, if I could just highlight, is to identify which kind of long-term investments that are within the strategic vision of the diocese and in the interest of the faithful. That, I think, is a clear guidance on where we should do. Then the other aspect is vetting the members of that committee, is what I think your chair does. Then when you talked about strategy for the whole diocese in the revenue collections, there is a section that guides us. We can have, when Father mentioned the numbers, I calculated 1.1 billion by June next year, if you stick to what you gave us as a model. But it does not mean that you spend all that money on a particular project. There is a guidance that you should have at least some of the money collected regularly, the interest after 3 years. Then he talked about what about the parishes downwards. There is a guidance that at least a percentage, it could be 10%, is given as a return. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Facilitator. Do we still need one more question? There was a sister here. First, Mr. Singoma, I'm told your hand has been up for long.
I'm sorry, Chairman, my question has been addressed by Father, the Parish Priest of Diocese. Thank you.
Good. One sister there. Father Komakesh will be next. But I remind you, in the interest of time and being organized, let us for now limit ourselves to the subject of the Friends of the Bishop presentation.
Thank you very much, and I thank God for this mobilization that as a diocese we are raising to the heights where God has prepared us to shine spiritually and financially. When the previous speaker was speaking, I felt just not to ask, but just to produce one word, which is of consolation, that much as the policy is launched, we should not all be worried, but we should know that our core principle, however I've not read this policy, in this case, we acknowledge the divine ownership, that God will always provide from grassroots to the top, as long as we spiritualize and prioritize whatever we have, that God who has given us, we are stewards, and it will go in a streamlined area. It benefits those who produce it, and it makes the diocese shine, as if somebody was worried. Thank you very much. The God who is starting it will sustain it.
Thank you. This we have Rama. As we do this, let us not be desperate. The young of all. Thank you. Father Komakech.
Thank you very much, the Chair. Protocol observed. I request that we don't cross the bridge before we reach it. We are still launching, and this is something that we are moving towards. I want to just touch something little on the finance policy before I go to the Friends of Bishop, just to appreciate it. I remember in one of the meetings, sometime back, this was one of the questions that the late Father Emmanuel Tunamuju, may so rest in peace, was always bringing forward. When you want to plan something, he says, but do we have a financial policy? And truly, from the years that I've seen going through, we have not implemented anything because of lack of this policy. So I'm really very grateful and thanking all the members for coming up with this idea. Then secondly, I would like to thank very much the head of the lady for this initiative of the Friends of the Bishop. I'm so happy that you have touched on some of the things that we have been discussing some time back on some of the projects. Because as we prepare to support the bishop in his activity of the diocese, we already have certain things in place that can also help us in supporting the bishop. That's some of the projects we talked of Kutema, we talked of Hoima, Makerere House, Rubaga House. Yeah, these are some of the things we have been crying for. And my request now is that the committee that will be formed, the financial committee that will be formed, I request that we take up this initiative that the lady has brought out, because it has been our cry for quite a long time. Some of us have always been presenting it in the meetings and insisting on it. And I'm happy that today it doesn't come from the priest, but it comes from a lay person. And I beg that the committee takes it up seriously and we see how we can implement it. The third issue is that the initiative is very, very good to be friends with the bishop, and we shall take it up and make sure it works, because it is workable. It is workable. You cannot say we are going to fail it or it is impossible. It is workable amidst our many schedules and contributions that are needed. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Father Komakech. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to ask Mr. John Mary now to respond. Most of these items, we are more of compliments. The way forward has been also a visit earlier on. And now I want, if you agree, to go ahead and invite the Executive Director, of you, call yourself, MD.
Thank you, Chair.
MD and team take over the floor.
As the MD comes, I'd like to remind all of you, or to inform those who want to make local and international calls. Our best network is just behind this house. You can use this direction or the main office. That's where we have the best network, short and international calls. You take that direction. Secondly, we want to appreciate the communications department. They have given us airspace and we were supposed to end by 1 p.m. We have made a formal application for an extension of 1 hour, and within that hour, these are the things we have to do. Team Hofokam is here to present for 20 minutes, and 10 minutes will be for your questions and answers. The remaining 30 minutes, we shall have here several actions performed by the Bishop, which will include the launch of the policy, the commissioning of the Diocesan Finance Committee, appreciation of the outgoing committee, and concluding remarks. So I request all of you, if you, by chance, you are given a microphone, use it to the best and speak the most important points. I thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. My Lord Bishop, permit me to stand on the protocol that has already been observed by the previous speakers. Charles Isingoma is my name. I'm privileged to be serving in the capacity of the Managing Director of OFOCAM. I'm requested to give a hybrid summary. In the first instance, I'm grateful to you. You've made my work very easy. You have quickly Hoima Catholic Diocese, Fort Portal Catholic Diocese, the assembly that comprises of these respective instructions, prepares, the media automatically becomes the member of the assembly, is representative capacity. I wish to dwell at length on the Caritas Director. We have Sabitalion. Below this organ, there is the board of directors. This is the team of technocrats. People who have appropriate skill in managing resources, in conformity with the regulator. Hoima is represented because of ELs, but below the directors, I personally speaking, I'm also part of the board because I'm a managing director. I have my colleague Thomas, executive director. 2 are executive directors, whereas the other 7 are non-executive. Right now, in terms of outreach, we are operating beyond 2020. We support and technical assistance, both finance, an asset base in excess of 40 billion, owned by these 3 dioceses. I would say much about the our discussion this morning resonates. You cannot have these organs unless you, therefore, to invest in order, and my Lord again mentioned this, we need resources for sustenance of our clergy, and probably in a mild way, the laity, because it is nature. At one time, we are all aging. The majority of the people I see here in this congregation are in the early evenings.